Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Google Scholar and Free Legal Research, presented by Charity Anastasio. My name is Stephanie Phelan. I'm a marketing manager at MyCase, and I'll be your host today. First, I'd like to give you a few tips about participating on GoToWebinar. The webinar control panel is on the right-hand side of your screen. This is where you can control audio, chat with me, and submit questions. Please use that questions pane to submit your questions throughout the webinar. I'll be collecting those questions and saving them to ask Charity at the end of her presentation, but please don't wait until the very end to shoot those over to me. Also note that these slides and the recording will be available by end of day tomorrow on the MyCase blog, and it will also be emailed to all registrants. When you close your webinar today, a 5-question survey will pop up. All you have to do is answer those 5 questions and you're entered to win our $100 Apple gift card that we give away for every webinar. That survey will only take you about 30 seconds to complete. If you'd like to join the conversation on Twitter, the hashtag to use is hashtag Google Scholar Tips. This webinar has been approved by the Wyoming State Bar and the Florida Bar for 1 hour of general CLE credit, including 1 hour of technology CLE credit. If you are a Florida Bar member, note course number 2706R to self-report your CLE, and note that we do not provide certificates for this webinar. Today's webinar is hosted by MyCase, so before we jump into things, I'd like to give you a quick overview. MyCase is a web-based law practice management software that takes care of your daily practice requirements for calendaring, contact management, document management and templates, time and billing, client communications, custom workflows, and so much more in one solution at a really affordable price. MyCase is priced for solo and small firms at just $39 a month per user. We also offer MyCase websites for our customers. The one-time fee to set up and build your custom website is $9.95. Then there's a $50 per month fee to maintain and keep updating your website. Our websites team makes some really beautiful websites, and they can build one for your law firm too. We use a modern, professional design specifically for your firm. The websites contain social media and blog integration, and best of all, a client portal which is completely integrated with your MyCase software. So now your customers and you can log into MyCase directly from your own website. Next up is payments. Are you accepting payments from clients online yet? You really should be, and it is easier than ever. MyCase now has a built-in credit cards payments feature for our payment service. Customers can accept online payments from clients using both credit cards and checking accounts seamlessly through their MyCase account with no third-party integration required. Last but not least, we enjoy hosting educational events for professionals in the legal industry, and that's why we're all here today. So let me tell you a little bit about our presenter. Charity Anastasio is the Director of Law Office Management Assistance at the Maryland State Bar Association. She received her JD from Seattle University School of Law in 2007 and opened a solo practice in 2008, focusing on estate planning, probate, and family law. In 2013, she became Washington State Bar Association's Practice Management Advisor. And just last year, she traded coast to join the Maryland State Bar Association. Charity is the chair of the local and county bar outreach committee of the ABA Law Practice Division and a regular contributor to the Bar Bulletin of the Maryland State Bar Association. Charity, thanks so much for being with us today and tackling this really important subject. I'll pass the mic over to you now.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's real joy being here. I've known Stephanie and the MyCase team since my time of working at the Washington State Bar, and they have always been a great resource to attorneys. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about legal research tools that are available and to do this webinar today. And I really look forward to answering everyone's questions too. So before we get started, I just want to orient our thoughts on what it is that we really want from a legal research platform. So what we want from a legal research platform is we want accurate case law and statute. We want it to be current, obviously. We want it to be easy to find and easy to follow that track of the history or the treatment, whether or not it's good law or not. So some version of shepherdizing without the branding. We want it to be easy to transfer into work product, to capture and properly create those sites that we find. We want the search to be instinctual and easy for us to figure out. And then we want the searches to happen quickly and not to wait for them for a long time. And then I think that something that is maybe a newer desire of many users is that we want them to integrate with the office systems easily. And I will do my best to address these different things because I think that some of the legal research platforms have these available, but in limited degrees, and some of those things might be missing. So I will come back to this at the very end too. My presentation goals are to introduce certain free products, to talk about the top features of those products, talk about the limitations of those products and how to counter them, and then find solutions for legal research problems through doing this. I'm going to really focus on three main products that are out there that are free, but I will also tell you that MyCase and I worked on an ebook for this also that will be sent out to you right after the webinar, and it goes into much more depth about each one of those different things, but also a few of the other ones that exist out there that I might not be covering in very much depth here. So first, I'm going to start with a poll and just get a sense for how much experience we have with the main ones that I'm going to be focusing on today. This particular poll, you can pick as many as you want. So if you've used them all, pick them all. Which of these have you used? Have you used Google Scholar to do legal research, Casemaker, Fastcase, court sites, so that could be any jurisdiction that you have, or some other thing?
Okay, great. Thanks, Charity. So please, everyone, go ahead and select your responses. And when I see the majority has voted, I'll close the polls. All right, everyone's pretty quick. So I'm going to close the polls. Here goes. And the results are in. So which of these have you used? 45% say they have used Google Scholar. 18% have used Casemaker. 44% Fastcase. 61% have used court sites, and 58% selected other. So it seems like we have a pretty experienced group.
That is great to hear. And if you have any of those that you want to list in the questions that sound really important, maybe Stephanie can shout those out at the very end too. I think that makes sense to me. We're certainly using these products. Hopefully this presentation will give us some insight into some of the additional features there that we might not be completely using and how we can use them better. I'm going to start with Google Scholar because it looks like it's one of the best known ones. I'm actually, and I'll just mention that I'm not going to talk about court websites in this presentation, but I do give examples of 4 jurisdiction court websites in the ebook, which I think is helpful. And they're all pretty similar, but they have different little tweaks. So Google Scholar is, obviously it's a search site. We're pretty familiar with the way that Google works. It's one of the only, words that's become a verb that used to be a noun. This is what the site looks like. I put the site link right there. And it's important to recognize, I think, from the very beginning that this is really for scholars. And that's why it starts with articles, but you can make it default onto case law, and you can select a particular court in that selection down at the bottom, or you can just do a keyword search and you can narrow in on the different courts and the different times after that. So you can search the case law by state, by federal, by keywords, and there is an advanced search feature as well. So I'm just going to start with the warning because we want to make sure that we pay attention to the limitations of the different free legal researches that we're using. The disclaimer says legal opinions in Google Scholar are provided for information purposes only and should not be relied on as a substitute for legal advice from a licensed lawyer. We're licensed lawyers, but we can rely on it because we have special knowledge. Google does not warrant that the information is complete or accurate. So that's a little bit of a red flag, right? The other thing that they state is that the updates to the existing records, so this is to currentness, takes a while. And this is really because it is developed through all of those, it's curating all the information from those court websites and other websites that have this available in a public forum. But those spiders do not crawl the web consistently and constantly and update this instantaneously. So on the short end, it says 6 months, and on the long end, it says it can be more than a year. And that partly depends upon what the websites that they're getting the information from permits them to do. The information that they actually have, and this changes, so that's why I put the website here of what it covers, because I think that you could find that it could cover more in the future. But it currently has United States and appellate Supreme Court cases since 1950. It has United States Federal District Appellate Tax and Bankruptcy Courts since 1923. It does United States Supreme Court cases since 1791. And it has citations for cases cited by indexed academic articles that may help find older or international influential cases not yet publicly available. So I do think it's important to recognize that we don't want to ignore that they have articles. Those articles are in-depth, informative, and may lead to additional knowledge about cases. I also just want to address why would we use it if it's not the most current information? I think there's a few reasons. I think it's easy to use. It's a search that we all know how to do, especially an easy keyword search. It's free. It's a good starting point. And maybe what you do is you use this to make sure that you keep the amount of time that you use the Westlaw or Lexis contract that you have that is like by the minute or by the search. It limits how much you're going to do on that end. So you work through this first, and then you narrow your search when you go to your paid product. And then also, I think that it's important to recognize that that some practice areas may be able to use this more easily than other ones. Some of them are more in flux and need more current information, and some do not. So know your practice area and know where it's at. You're taking advantage of algorithms that we can acknowledge Google has a very good understanding of and a powerful tool in when we do use it. So this is just an example of what it looks like when if you're on the left side there, you're choosing from the courts. I just picked a couple of courts that is where I'm barred. And then when you actually get into the search, it kind of looks like this. But the reason I have a little circle there is I want you to notice that it's a fast search. We noted that we want fast searches at the beginning. This is one of the fastest. You get almost 3,350 results in 0.03 seconds. So there's some value in doing that, even if it might not be a complete record. And then just notice at the very bottom of this middle column here, I'll use my little cursor so you can see it. It says create alerts. I'm going to talk about how to create alerts. I think that's a really important button to recognize and use. So a little bit closer in on what it looks like when you search on it. You can narrow the search further from here. This one I did through the choosing in Idaho courts, so that's why it's highlighted. It has any time, but I can do a since 2017. I can custom range that time frame. And then you can also sort by relevance or search by date instead. And you can narrow by court from there as well. So when you go to look at a specific link in there, recognize that it tells you how many times it was cited how it was cited. It has related articles, cites, and save, and I'm going to touch base on a little bit of those. So how it's cited appears like this when you click on it. And remember, the ebook's going to be more detailed than this particular presentation is. So it'll tell you where it's cited and give you a little bit of the text. It may not be a perfect representation of what that text, what the information you want it to look like is, but it looks pretty similar to other legal research platforms. And it also says on this other column, cited by, and of course, all of those things that are blue or purple, as the case may be, if it's been clicked on, are links, and you can just go straight to that particular case from here. So that cited by lists those 100 cases that were that this case is cited. And then the cite link is important because it gives you a copy and paste. Remember that we wanted to be able to transfer that information into our work product quickly. This is a way that you can do it, and you can also save all of those sites in one place in this platform. So how do you save the different cases? Well, you have a little library, and it's just online, and you can enable that library, and the ebook will tell you step by step how to do it. And then once you do, when you have saved cases, instead of saying save here, it will say this is saved. So you will know that that case is already in your library. And then to create an alert, you can create an alert on a specific case. You can create an alert on a specific search. You can do it from the search and it will automatically populate it, or you can do it from this page and put it in manually yourself. And what that will do is it will give you an email whenever it comes up on the web and the spiders catch that particular case or that particular query anywhere. And it looks like this in your email, except for these ones are for phishing scams and hacking, which, mind you, I have some Google alerts that are about me personally. I never get anything, but I get an email every single day about every phishing scam and every hack because I have these particular alerts. So that can be a really wonderful tool that is completely passive. You set it up once and it's automated, and then it is like a daily digest, but on a very discrete topic. Here I did it on writ of habeas corpus, which is pretty broad, but you could do it on an area of law or a particular case and narrow that down. But of course, how current is it going to be? Well, it's going to actually go over the entire web, and anytime that case is mentioned, you would actually get information about it in your email. So it's time to do another poll. Which Google Scholar features look the most helpful to your practice? And this one, instead of picking any that apply, just pick the one that you think is the most helpful. Google Search, copy citations, save to library, Google Alerts, or none of the above.
Great, thank you, Charity. And please go ahead and make your one selection there, and I'll be closing the polls in just a few seconds. Okay, everyone's voting very quickly, so closing the polls and sharing our results. So which Google Scholar features look the most helpful? The majority, with 57%, said Google Search, 13% said copy citations, 12% save to library, 16% Google Alerts, and just 2% said none of the above. So go ahead and close that out.
Well, I'm glad that Google Search is the top because I think it's pretty instinctual. I'm sad that I didn't convince you that Google Alerts is a powerful tool. Maybe I have to spend more time on that next time. So another one that I want to talk about is Casemaker, and I'll just pause for a second and note that, of course, this usually depends upon what bar associations you're barred in and which legal research tool they offer you for free. Of course, it's not free, it's paid for by the Bar Association, but I noticed that we have Wyoming has CLE accreditation for this program. Wyoming is a Casemaker state. Florida also has CLE accreditation. They're a Fastcase state. Well, I'll talk about both, but also recognize that both of these products have a free version for the bar associations. They also have paid versions and certain discrete free services that you can access even if you're not in that bar association. So it's still worth listening even if you're not in a Casemaker state or a Fastcase state, because they do have features that you can use outside of that as well. So just looking at this I searched here for res ipsa loquitur. I always say that wrong, so I'm not practicing anymore. That's my excuse. Just looking at this, I want to recognize that it has this nice left panel that has an overview, and it'll set you up with all the cases, pleadings, books and treatises, unpublished cases, law review articles. This has Seattle University Law Review because I have the Washington state where I'm barred as a Casemaker state. So it's going to emphasize all of the Washington products, and same with the University of Washington Law Review. And then note that it'll give you the first couple for each one of those on the other side, but you'd actually want to click on cases to view all 25. View all 25 would be, or 255, sorry. Pleadings, same thing. The pleadings bank may or may not be in the contracts for the bar association that you're at. And in line with the poll that we did, most of the bar associations are Fastcase bar associations, but there are some Casemaker bar associations. I think they're both great products, both worth looking at. And then when you get a little bit deeper into a search, it gives you an opportunity to narrow that search further in a way that is a little bit more sophisticated than the Google Scholar. Not completely different from it, but definitely more sophisticated. This one will give you how many cases in each one of those jurisdictions. It will permit you to do a keyword search within your search. And if you had seen the entire panel instead of just a screenshot, you'd also see it will permit you to narrow it down by judge and by a few other factors at the bottom as well. So nice features, I think, for being able to streamline your search. It also gives you some indication of treatment of the case. Here we have a case that looks like bad law, and here we have a case that looks like good law. There's really for them, so Lexis has many of their the little symbols and what those symbols mean. Casemaker is a little bit simpler of a product, but it has these 4 different things. It says no negative treatment in subsequent cases, which is obviously good news. It says it's criticized, this case has been overruled, and this case has been reversed. So you could see any one of those, and while it doesn't give you as much information as LexisNexis would, it definitely gives you some indication of the treatment of the case, whether it's good law or bad law. Also recognize that when you pull up a case, it tells you, much like the Google Scholar does, how many times that case has been cited. That's this circle right here and this piece. And then it also has this little chart. And when you click on this little chart, this is a powerful tool. This is your number of times, this is your citation history for the case. So the number of times that it has been cited. And then on Casemaker, it splits you out by what jurisdiction by color. So each one of those little dots on that little chart has a number behind it, and it has the cases linked to it. So the higher dots there would be maybe 5 cases or 10 cases, depending on how many times this case is typically searched, cited. And then the lower numbers will usually just be 1. But if you click on that dot, it will list out the different cases in that year and give you some information about them. And while other is not completely detailed, I really do like that it separates out the jurisdictions for the federal and the Washington. And the other would probably just be any other state that, or maybe an article that has cited that. Another feature of Casemaker, and again, this may or may not be in the contract for the particular bar association, but I do think that this is a powerful tool, and so if it's available, you should certainly know about it, is CiteCheck. This is, you can download a brief into the platform, and you can do it in Word, text format, or a searchable PDF. And in about 90 seconds, it will give you a report whether or not that is all still good law. So you finish your brief, and the last thing that you do is you run it through this thing to make sure that nothing changed in the time frame that you were working on it. You can also, of course, since you can do PDF, submit opposing counsel's brief and instantly get a report whether or not all of their cases are good law. Powerful tool. And does it automatically, so it will save you time. Not that you're not going to have to figure out why it might not be good law, but here you have a tool that's going to give you some help on it. I also think that the reason I point these out is the annotator and the browsing the table of contents for particular rules in Casemaker is a little bit hidden and a powerful tool. And so that just means if you're in a particular statute, make sure that you look at that bar that says annotator and browse table of contents. And if you want to know more about the entire rule or the statute where it's coming out of, you can click the table of contents and it will list out the entire thing instead of just the one that you're in, instead of you having to go and search it independently. It's just a really great, quickie little tool. And then if the contract includes it, Casemaker also offers a daily digest. That daily digest can come in an email form or in an RSS field, you know what I mean, a list that is sent to you. In this one, you can narrow it by course, you can narrow it by practice area. It is maybe not the most attractive platform in my personal opinion, but what a wonderful, it's an RSS feed, sorry. Every once in a while when you're presenting, words escape you. But it's a pretty powerful tool because then you get your summary of what the case is and you can click on it and you'll be in Casemaker and it'll give you information. It'll give you the entire case if you click on it. So Fastcase, their competitor, also has some really interesting features and a very different way of presenting things. So Fastcase, this may look a little bit different than your Fastcase if you're used to a particular one, because they're sort of in between versions. They have two out. They have Fastcase 6 and Fastcase 7, and this is the 7. So this is the newer version. And this is their main page, and you'll just notice that they like to kind of box things in different segments. They like those panels. It's kind of the way that they arrange things. So that is very classic for their style. So this is just, and I apologize, it's kind of a blurry slide, but this particular one here is an example of the older version, what it looked like. It's pretty straightforward. It tells you how relevant it thinks that this particular site is, or this particular piece is. Has some suggestions on the other side that give you more information. And then this is essentially the same thing in the newer version, the Fastcase 7 version. Maybe a little bit sleeker, a little bit easier to read. A couple things to note about this. That foresight results panel on the right, that gives you more detailed cases that they think are seminal relating to the search that you have that deserve a call out based upon their algorithms and their research. These cases for res ipsa loquitur would be very important. So you'd want to pay attention to those maybe first and foremost when you're looking at things. Then on the other side, you will notice that they have applied filters. And they give you a few different types of searching filters. I think it's a little bit harder in Fastcase to search based upon judge. But I do think that it gives you some parameters here for narrowing the search that can be really sophisticated and helpful. And then it also gives you, you'll notice right next to the case, an authority check, which tells you a little bit about the treatment of the case too, whether it has any negative treatment or not. it looks different from Casemaker's, but it is not absent, right? Oh, I also want to note that that first case in the list there has a little $sign by it, because that means that that particular site is, while 100% relevant to your search, is not included in that particular contract that you have through Fastcase. And the Maryland State Bar has Fastcase, so that's why I have access here. Another thing that I think is interesting and beneficial, so we had Casemaker does the citation history with a chart, but here we do citation history with, it's kind of a chart, but it's like a bubble. I don't know. It's very cool looking. I have to get used to reading it myself sometimes, but the interactive timeline that they have here, each one of those circles represents a particular thing. So the different circles are color coded. The orange ones are those foresight ones that I mentioned, the 3 on the column that they think are seminal cases to the particular issue that you're looking at. And then the other colors are based upon the particular results, and the size of the circle is how authoritative or how commonly cited that particular case is, makes it a bigger circle. So obviously you pay attention to the biggest circles first, and all of those are hyperlinked. So you just hover over it, it would show you the citation, and then you click on it and it would give you the case. Different way of visualizing it, but also very meaningful information. And then, like I said, they have panels, so you can really, you see a little arrow at the top of this picture. You can move that, you could get rid of it, or you can move it in a different place. You can make it bigger or smaller when you're looking at a whole. But I pulled out this particular one because this is one that I think is also really unique and interesting, that each one of those particular, so these are the case that we pull up has additional keywords, additional terms of art that relate to it, and they will do this sort of word map that will give you different words larger per their importance based upon the case. Fastcase uses algorithms similar to Google. Instead of using individuals to try and figure this stuff out, they really use technology to make it happen. So they can, I think, do things faster and automated, but they also give it to you in a way that is unique, and you can actually, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, more on necessity or more on railroad even, or due care, and you know that that's your particular issue for this particular search, it's another way to narrow your search and get a better understanding of the way that that particular term of art in this case is relevant. Plus, it's just cool looking. I have to admit, it's a very cool looking picture there. So now I'm going to do another poll, and this will help me get a better understanding too of which ones of those features are most meaningful. Which of these features look the most helpful to your practice? The brief site checker, that's like Casemaker. When you download it, it tells you whether it's good law or not, it gives you a report. Case treatment indicators, meaning negative treatment or positive treatment. Interactive timelines or charts, either one of those. Interactive keyword visuals, or a daily digest.
Thank you, Charity. All right, everyone knows what to do now. If you can please select one of those on the poll, and we'll see the results in just a few seconds. And majority has voted. I will close the polls, and results are in. So which of these features look the most helpful to your practice? Majority, 42% said brief site checker, 35% said case treatment indicators, 5% interactive timelines and charts, 9% interactive keyword visuals, and also 9% the daily digest. Is that about what you expected to hear, Charity?
That is about what I expected to hear. And I'm really impressed with the site checker too. one of the other products that I used to talk about more, and I mentioned it a little bit in the ebook, is CaseText. I didn't go into depth in it because it appears to me that they've pulled back on their free version, and they're really promoting their CARA, C-A-R-A, which is essentially just a streamlined version of that CiteChecker, and maybe a little bit sleeker than Casemaker does it. But if you really find that an attractive component, do look at CaseText, because CARA, while you pay for it, for a litigator, I think it's a super powerful tool. So here's a few more websites that are free that you should certainly know about. And like I said, Casemaker and Fastcase both have free versions. The Public Library of Law is the free version of Fastcase. I didn't put Casemaker's free version, but I think this one has a few more features, so it's worth talking about. So I didn't do a little circle on it, but right here in the middle, you'll notice it actually has an RSS feed. If you click on that, it would gives you by state an RSS feed for current law in that state. I think that is great because, again, that's passive information, similar to a Google alert on a particular search. But it's just going to give you everything for a particular jurisdiction. So unlike some of the other daily digests, it's not being limited by practice area or particular court. It also has, so these are just out there and open for everybody, cases from the U.S. Supreme Court and Courts of Appeals, cases from all 50 states back to 1997. It has federal statutory law and codes from all 50 states. It has regulations, court rules, constitutions, and it will give you links to the other things that are not included for free, so that you could always purchase them essentially by individual piece if you wanted to. So it's a great tool. You do have to sign up, but that just means you're, saying yes to their terms of service and giving them a little information about you. Find Law. I think Find Law has different levels of how good it is based upon jurisdiction. That's just my personal view, but it again too is curated information for the particular area. So recognize that you want to be in the one that's for legal professionals, and then you narrow it down by your particular state. So for Washington State, it's curated things like laws. It has the Attorney General opinion. It has legislature bills information. It does the revised code of Washington, so that's their main code. It has the state legislature, Washington Administrative Code, Washington Constitution. It also goes through the federal opinions. And then it also does all of the court websites of opinions and Washington bills. And so it's curated it into one location. Many of those things you might already have, especially if you're trying to look at a jurisdiction that you're just starting with. FindLaw is a great place to start because it has most of those in one place, and you can sort of go through and go, what is it that I'm looking for? And then Justia is another one, very sort of organized based upon practice area, in a little bit of organization based upon jurisdiction, but I really think it zeroes in more on the practice areas. And this one too, I think certain practice areas are more powerful than others. So I think there's a reason why they start with injury law, employment law, criminal law at the top. I think those are the ones that are going to be most helpful. But it's a free resource. It's out there and it's worth it. It's worth looking at. And then I mentioned I'm not going to actually show working through each court website, but just as a acknowledgement of my wonderful bar association in Washington, here is the Washington Supreme Court of Appeals opinions, and they use LexisNexis to run this machine. So recognize that if you use a court website, it has great value to it, especially if you know Lexis but you don't want to pay for Lexis, or you're trying to keep the cost down, because they will still have those flags next to the cases of the treatment of each case. It's just not going to tell you what the treatment is when you actually try and click on it. It's going to say that's not included. And it also would be an instinctual search for you if it's a product that you're used to using. Here you go, here's the product that basically is using it. You can search it right here. So now I'll do another poll and just get a sense for where folks are at after seeing all those. Do you think any of these may save you time, money, or heartache? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I hope everybody's hopeful, but.
Okay, perfect. And people are quick to vote, so I'm going ahead to close the poll. Here it goes. And our results are in. So do you think any of these may save you time, money, or heartache? 64% said yes. 1% said no. 17% maybe. 3% do not know. And 15% are hopeful.
Cool. One person that says no, I wonder if all the work that they do has to do with treaties and foreign government sites. I will say that there are a lot of legal research tools or legal research sites out there that do have law and opinions of foreign governments. One of the ones that can be difficult to search is Native American courts. They don't always have very robust finances, so they will often have them, but they will be hard to find and they will not be very easy to search. So it sometimes takes time to work through them and try and find what it is that you need. But I would start with Google there. I would just Google it and see if you can narrow it down a little bit. So we started with what it is that we really want from our legal research platforms. And it was accuracy, making sure that it has the right cases come up when you put the right searches in. When I put adverse possession, I want to see, open and notorious. We want them to be current. So that is one of the areas that I think is a limitation of free services. Though I'll also note there that Casemaker assured me they actually get the most current statutes and laws up before the government website does, at least in Washington, because they do it within a week of when the cases or the statutes have been passed in the legislature. So I do think that you can get current information from products that are predominantly free, more so than we ever could before, which is the great news about technology and where it's going. We want it to be easy to find and to link. And that's what I mean by linking is just link through the whole chain of the citation history, the whole chain of the treatment of the case, and to your case itself. We want them to be easy to transfer to our work product. Ideally, we're going to be using a we're going to be using a product that is going to give us our citation the way that our court wants it to be. And that is going to come from, you have to make a cost-benefit analysis of, well, I pay for this product through my bar association and they actually give me the citation properly, whereas the citation that is on Google Scholar is a little bit different, so I'll have to change it every time. Take that into account. Doesn't mean that you don't use the Google search, but it means that when you really go to put in those citations that you're going to use for your case, you do the ones that are, from the product that already has it the way that you want it to be, or you do the work. But if you do the work, that's work that you can't be spending time doing elsewhere. You also want them to be instinctual searches. Easy to do, easy to find, and they come up fast. That is where Google really has it faster than anybody else, I think. And then you want it to integrate with your office systems as well as possible. Some products will have an integration with others specifically. For example, Casemaker has an integration with Cosmolex, which is a practice management software. That means that your time logged when you're researching is easier and putting it into the file in Cosmolex for the case file is easier because they're working together intentionally. Another one is Clio has an integration with Fastcase. Almost blanked out which one that was. So same thing. It's easy to log your time, and it automatically puts it into the case file, sort of streamlined. You know, I think that if you're using Google products, they integrate with just about anything pretty smoothly and seamlessly. That's an intentional for the company. So maybe that's less of a concern when you're talking about that one. Negotiating some of the limitations. So I have been working as a practice management advisor and talking to lawyers for a long time about how it is that they run their office. I wonder if my phone just did something funny because it just gave me a funny little notice there. But anyway, a lot of your newer lawyers that open an office and have to do it on a shoestring and make sure that they keep their overhead very low will use the library. They'll go to the library and use Westlaw and Lexis when it comes to checking the treatment of the case. So maybe they start with one of these free services, and then when they have to do the legal research that would be expensive, they make sure they use the resources that are available to them essentially for free or very close to free if you pay a little bit for your library membership. Another thing I think is important is to be strategic about how it is that you do this. I mentioned it a few times before. Start broad in Google Scholar, narrow your search, and then go to your paid program if you use a paid program. Excuse me. I think Lexis and Westlaw are both lovely. I just think that they charge an awful lot for the service, and it just may not be something that the firm can pay for right off the bat. So figure out how you're going to manage that, and then make sure that you don't buy in and you buy in at the right level when you do. I'd say shepherdizing is a crutch. I say that in jest. I say that a little bit to be controversial and make you all go, what? It's not a crutch. It's something that we all do. We all have to check the treatment of the case. But I always, whenever I think about this, harken back to what my legal writing professor said, which is, it doesn't matter what that symbol says. You still have to read the case and figure out whether or not it applies to your facts in your case, and whether or not it's good law on your point of law that you're using the case for. Because that symbol is only probably going to relate to, well, it might relate to the whole case, but it might not. It might only relate to a slim particular aspect of that case. So make sure that you really understand the case, regardless of whatever symbol is sitting beside it, and recognize that nothing replaces the good thinking that you, the lawyer, does. And then do the cost-benefit analysis. If you have too much work and you need to go faster than what these products are going at, be my guest and pay for a product. I think that is a high-class problem and one that you should solve with a product that is essentially outsourcing the difficult aspects of doing the legal research more manually. Because that's the difference between the paid version and the not paid version. It's going to have a more manual aspect to it if you are not paying for it. It will hopefully be more automatic and easier to do if it is paid for. And then always please think about being conscious of your practice area rhythms. I say rhythms, tides, and shifts. That's just me trying to say you need to know where the law is at in your practice area and what the newest updates are. And so you need to continue to go to legal education. You need to pay attention to the changing practice area, because you know, it doesn't matter what you need to be up on the law that you're researching. And just don't blindly pay for a product. Don't blindly pay what they offer. Ask whether or not you really need that entire, all those different components in that contract. Don't assume that you're going to be doing law that requires treaties unless you know you're going to be doing law that requires treaties. And just be smart about it. So we are now, I think I'm doing my time pretty well. I'm a minute ahead. I think it's time for questions. Stephanie, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a ton of questions, Charity. You have a very engaged audience, and that was an excellent presentation. Thank you. For those of you who have to leave us now before questions, please take note of 3 things. When you close your webinar, a quick 5-question survey will pop up. It just takes 30 seconds to answer those questions, and you're entered to win a $100 Apple gift card. If you are a Florida Bar member, note that course number again was 2706R. I also sent that out in the chat pane, and you'll need that to report your CLE. And third, you will receive an email tomorrow with the Google Scholar ebook by Charity, a link to the MyCase blog where you'll find these slides, the webinar recording, and the Apple gift card winner. And so now I will get to these questions. Here's our first question, Charity. What is the best way to do legal research for immigration cases?
Oh, immigration cases. Of course, some of those might come with the international law issue. It's also federal. So any one of these resources that has a federal component, I'm sure you're going to be doubling down on. I also, I haven't looked at that. I'm going to say that I suspect AILA would have some legal research tools. And I'm going to look into that a little bit, and I would be able to give a better answer that we could hopefully include in the email right after we talk. AILA is I always slip up on what the acronym is, but the American Immigration Lawyers Association. So I would look that website up and look for legal research tools on it and see if it has any good aspects, because I think that would be the place that I would start with that if I was going to try and do immigration cases, which I didn't do.
Okay.
So.
Okay, perfect. Good answer. Next question. What are the benefits, if any, to these tools if you already have unlimited Westlaw access? It's a government attorney that was posing the question.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I hope maybe I pointed them out a little bit throughout, but I think that there are a couple things that you may want to do just for passive research purposes. I think that the RSS feeds, if you want just having the cases automatically come to you for a particular jurisdiction or a particular practice area, would be helpful. I also think that the Google Alert would be helpful. That must be one of those 2% people that says, this just isn't going to help me at all because I got Westlaw and Westlaw is perfect. I don't know if Westlaw is totally perfect. It's always good to have a second opinion, right? So I wouldn't spin my wheels running around in Google Scholar if I had Westlaw Unlimited, but I might give it a quick check just to make sure, for example.
Okay, excellent. These questions are pouring in like crazy right now, so I apologize, everyone. We won't get to every one of these questions, but there are some great questions coming in. A few people asked about Fastcase. Does it have a brief check feature?
It doesn't, as far as I know. I'll tell you honestly, my ulterior motive for that poll question is to ask Fastcase to start talking about doing a brief check, because I think that it's just a wonderful feature, and I think that if they wanted to, they could work with case text and integrate with them, because they tend to be prone towards integration. And hopefully make that an offering for a wider audience, because I think you're right. They don't have one right now. I asked them about it when I saw them in March, and I'm pushing back on that and hoping that they will move towards that in the future.
Okay, great. And I am getting a lot of questions about really specific types of cases. So I might hold on those for now to see if the ebook would be more helpful as a tool for those questions. Okay, good. And the next question, is there a free way to search trial courts other than searching the court websites themselves to see complaints and motions, etc.?
Excuse me, I'm not sure that I totally understand that question.
Okay.
Can you say
Sure, yeah, I'll say it one more time. So is there a free way amongst the ways that you mentioned to search trial courts other than searching the actual court websites themselves to see if there have been any complaints or motions?
Oh, I think probably not. It probably depends on the jurisdiction, and that's one of the issues that I left it out here because we're talking to a national audience. But my understanding of what you're saying is you need to search the particular, like you're looking at not all jurisdictions together, but individual jurisdictions when you're talking about that, and each one of their search databases would be different. And when you're talking about complaints and cases, it would be even getting into probably their platform that is the court's platform itself. So if you have a solution for that that I don't know about, I'd be happy to hear about it. I do think that some of these that curate all of the different jurisdictions in a particular practice area might be helpful, but not on that level, not on a specific, like, you know, complaints and briefs on this particular motion on this particular case.
That makes sense. Okay, next. Well, actually, many people have reached out to me asking again for the Florida Bar course number, and so that is 2706R. You can also look in your chat pane where you have it. You'll have it written there. Okay, Charity. Next question. Are there any websites that don't have the disclaimer that we can't guarantee results, etc.? I liked that one.
I bet that every one of those websites has a disclaimer that says that they can't guarantee them. That's one of the things that you pay for. When you pay for Westlaw or Lexis, you're paying for a certain amount of their guarantee that they have enough employees and they have worked really hard to make this right. When you're looking at Google, you do want to recognize that you're looking at a product that is being done by robots, and that is powerful in the strength of it doing it all on a mass scale across many different jurisdictions everywhere, but that it is not going to do it as fast and as you're not paying for it, so it's not going to be, no, yeah, there's none of those. I think they all are going to not guarantee results, and in fact, I don't know that Lexis and West actually guarantee their results. They might not.
Right. Okay. Next question. Are any of these helpful with transactional and legal forms?
Oh, good question. Yes. Casemaker actually has a forms bank. Its forms bank is, you have to pay per piece, at least in the jurisdiction that I'm in. The Fastcase, as far as I know, does not have a forms bank. Google, you can always Google different forms. I wouldn't use Google Scholar, I just use the Google search. I think, though, you're always going to need to be cautious when you go pulling forms. And forms are one of those controversial things where a lot of folks use them and use them unwisely, and I wish that every single one of them came with a guide. These are all of the things that you would need for these type of cases. These are all the things that you would need to take out. They don't. So none of them are perfect for forms, but I do think that you have a lot of work after you download the form, but I think the more you pay for the form, supposedly the better it should be. ABA also has a form book that's super old. They haven't updated it in way too long, so I don't know that I'd give it as the thing to use. Okay,
perfect. All right, next question. Was Casemaker the one that allows a PDF to be uploaded and checked? They're asking if that information's in the ebook.
Yes, Casemaker is. It's the Casemaker case CiteCheck. It is in more detail in the ebook. I go step by step in what the page looks like when you are first going to go there, how to click on it, more step by step. I'm happy to also talk through that with anybody if they want to email or call. Also recognize that Case Text is the one that has that as a paid service. Case Text is all one word, and the product that they have that does this is the acronym CARA, C-A-R-A. So both of those products have this. Case Text, you would essentially buy it as a standalone product. You can actually buy it for just one case. So if you had a big litigation case that you were particularly anxious about, you could use it just for that one case and test it out too and see what you thought.
Okay, excellent. We actually are out of time. I'm just going to throw this one last question out there. Do you have to be a member of a bar association to use Casemaker and or Fastcase?
No, you don't. Both of them have free versions where they would be limited as to what they offer. I'm sure that both of them also will pay will give you a subscription, and that fee will be less than it would be for your Westlaw or your Lexis usually. And then if you're a member of whichever bar association product, most bar associations have one or the other. And so each one of those contracts may have different levels of access based upon the contract that they've signed with Fastcase. So I would suggest contacting the bar association to see, whatever bar association you are a member of. Hopefully you're a member of one. But you probably do not have to be. The PLOL, which is the free Fastcase site, you don't have to be a member. You could be a public person and you could have access through that right there. So.
Okay, excellent. You were fabulous, Charity. Thank you so much for being with us today. And thanks to our audience for joining us and some great questions. Everyone will be getting an email tomorrow with a link to this recap, the slides, the recording, and the Google Scholar ebook. So thanks again. Thanks, Charity.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.